Hello and welcome to this video, another episode of Top 5, the podcast where every time a special guest joins me and talks about their favorite games of all time. My name is Arturo. You can find me on Twitter as at Arturo Nereu. And today I'm very excited for the guest that I have here. It's a person that I admire a lot because one, he's very smart, two, he's very technical, but also he's an artist, and I'm not sure how he defines himself. But today we have Arvind. Hey, Arvind, how are you?
Hi, Arturo. Thanks for having me. It's awesome to be here.
No, no, no. My pleasure. Thank you for taking the time. So, first thing first, how would you define yourself? How would you describe? Are you're an engineer, right? You're a programmer, but you draw and you do art. How would you like people to know you?
Sure. I always loved animation. So ever since I saw Toy Story, I think a few 25 years ago, I fell in love with animation,
Yeah.
and I would get into that for a very long time. But at the same time, as most South Indians, we are very. Everyone wants to be an engineer. Or everyone is forced to be an engineer. So I became a mechanical engineer, which I absolutely loved. I'm very good with physics,
Okay.
so I got into mechanical engineering and I did my mechanical engineering. But I never left behind my passion for animation, so I started learning animation on my own using Maya and whatnot. So and then I submitted my portfolio. I then got into Drexel University in Philadelphia, showing my portfolio where I pursued my master's in digital media.
Okay.
So I understood something very important, which is as long as you can be an artist. I love the artistic side of creativity and creation, but at the same time I also realize it is important to know what is under the hood, so that if something goes wrong, I need to be able to figure it out. And that's kind of how my artistic side and my technical skills kind of merged. Because even when I was using Maya, I wanted to know how was Maya really written. Why is it working that way, the way it is, right? And that's kind of how I would say I describe myself, which is I would I am an artist,
Okay.
but I'm not a fantastic artist or anything. But I'm definitely someone who wants to know what is going on under the hood, so that I can also help out and maybe extend it to do something better.
Yeah, yeah. No, and, and
Yeah.
and I think for the first couple of years after meeting you, I had the idea of you as a very technical person, and I think you. Well, let's take a step back. Can you please like briefly introduce yourself and tell us what you do, where do you live? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm from Chennai in India. So if you're unaware of Chennai, it's a South Indian city. It's South India is of course a peninsula, so it's like in the southeast tip of the country. And I grew up in Chennai. I'm a Chennai boy through and through. And so while here, I spent all of my 0 to 20 years in Chennai, and then
Okay.
from 20 to almost 30, I was in the US, where I worked at Nickelodeon Games. I did my master's, of course, and then I worked at Nickelodeon Games as a full stack engineer making games for Nickelodeon. So TMNT, SpongeBob, Dora the Explorer, you name it. I had like worked on those games. And
Yeah.
while at Nickelodeon, I learned how to not just be on the client side of making games, but also figure out how the server side of things work, database tools writing and whatnot. And it was a fantastic experience, and this was in Los Angeles. In 2014, I came back to India because I had never worked in India before, and I
Mhm.
just wanted to know what the experience of working in India was all about. And I joined Disney in Mumbai
Okay.
on 2014, where I was the technical architect for the interactive division. So I was making a lot of games that were India specific, like cricket games, and there was a few match three games and whatnot.
Cricket
And
as
that's
the sport like looks like baseball.
Yeah, cricket
Okay.
that looks like baseball that you play right. That's kind of what.
Is that sport a very popular sport in India?
Oh, it's huge. It's the most popular sport in India.
Okay, okay,
It's I don't know anyone who doesn't play cricket in India.
interesting.
So it's yeah, it's a very popular sport. So yeah, we're making those kind of games for the Indian market. I was there for close to 3 years,
Hmm.
and then I joined Unity, where I was evangelist and then later on the head of technology for India and Indian subcontinent. So I was, and that's when I met. I really literally traveled the world several times,
Yeah,
and I absolutely I met a lot of interesting people like yourself, of course.
thank you
A
so
lot
much.
of and I got to engage with a lot of developers around the world, met with understood the cultural differences between making games, and it was great. And then almost 4 years later, now I'm the head of technology at a little known company called Epic Games, I think. I don't
Yeah.
know if you heard of that. Uh, but I where I take care of technology related stuff in India and Southeast Asia.
Awesome.
So that's
Awesome.
what
Yeah,
I.
that's a great story. I actually thought you were a software engineer. But yeah, I remember you telling this story, and I also remember, and I'm not sure if these events are coming back, but these, we call them like pirate camps or evangelism camps, where people like in our position will travel to a central location, and we could spend a week together and things like that. And I remember you mentioning this story. So yeah, I but I didn't know the mechanical engineer part. Now I want to also ask you something, Arvind. What's the first memory that you have of knowing me? Do you remember where it was, when it was? I have one. The first memory that I have, but with you, I'm not sure if it's the same one that you have. It can be wrong. I don't know.
First time I met you was before I joined Unity, but I was kind of ready to join Unity, which was in
Okay.
December of 2016,
Uh huh.
when to San Francisco for the evangelism meetup, and that's when I believe I first met you, uh, uh, and uh, and this and everyone was new there, like
Yeah.
be it Chiro. There's so many people to remember, but I definitely remember a handful of people. But I think the time that we really talked a lot, and got to know a lot about each other, I would say was probably like Hack Week. During your birthday, it was
Yeah.
awesome.
I still have the drawing that you did for
Yeah,
and gave to me. It was awesome. Yeah, I remember this Ritz Carlton training that we got, and probably it's the same. Okay, it's the same
that was
thing. Yeah.
yeah, the Ritz Carlton training. We went to Ritz, and there was this lady who told us how to interact with customers and take care, put out fires in the capacity that we can. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it was fun. So yeah, it's we have the same memory. And but now that you mention, I don't remember you not being at Unity yet, or
Yeah,
no.
yeah. Yeah, I was at a time where I was still transitioning, but my boss at that time in Unity suggested that it was a fantastic idea to meet all the evangelists, even though I hadn't joined Unity at that point of
Okay,
time. And so I
okay.
thought, very well, then I'll just fly out. I had a visa, fortunately. So I
Yeah,
thought, I'll just see what's it like. So I spent a week with all of you folks,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's great. Like I think I think I pretty much very very closely associated with pretty much everyone who I met there. Like you, Chiro, Dan Miller. Dan Miller hadn't joined at the time. No, I think it was you, Chiro, of course, Ross and John
Russ.
Siesma, who was there. So and then Will Goldstein, who I'm kind of briefly met there, but it was a great meeting.
Yeah, yeah,
Meeting all of these folks from all around the world who had just gathered to know each other, and there was
yeah,
a great evangelism from Carl also, which I think I really appreciated. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it was around those times where we were small enough to, like, managed to be together in one same place, but not small enough to say like it's just three people. So it was fun. So the next thing that I would like to ask you, Arvind, is about the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about video games. Like, what's the oldest memory that you have with video games? Is it like I don't know, when you got your first console, or what's the first thing?
So this was way back, I would say, when I was probably in my fifth grade. I always knew about video games. Like even prior to that, I had like a handheld video game, which was like just two colors, like black and white. What do you call it? The LED screen. I don't even know what you call that anymore. But
Yeah,
it had like one game in it, and you just play the same game over and over again.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and that was, to give you a little history about India, right? Till 1990s, India was a very closed country. Like we didn't have a lot of imported foreign stuff.
Okay.
And I was born. So I was like 6 years old in 1990, and that's when, in 1990, the India opened up. Like it said, like you can, and that's when we first got Coca-Cola in India. So I remember that a lot, right?
Okay.
I've seen only Coca-Cola in like movies, but then when Coca-Cola came, I was like, shit, like we actually have Coca-Cola. Uh, I saw a lot of I played a lot of like this Japanese games like console, but like
Uh-huh.
handheld. Like I said, like it had like one game. I think it was called like Samurai Slasher or something like that.
Uh-huh.
That was that we all like all my cousins they had like one piece. Then all of my cousins used to like take turns playing that and whatnot. And then I'd say around when I was sixth grade or fifth grade, my uncle had bought a console for his son, and I was very jealous. Like shit, man! Like I need.
Okay.
And my uncle knew that. Like he was like, "Yeah, this is you're totally getting Jay, aren't you? Right? A super jealous guy." So he said, "Like I'll buy you a console. Like you need to pay me back. I'll buy you a console right now, but eventually you need to pay me back." I
Okay.
was like, "Sure, done deal. Just get me the console." Right? So he got me the Super Nintendo, the SNES,
Uh-huh.
right? Me that with the cartridge on it, and I didn't tell my mom or my dad about this deal. And then my mom and dad were like a little surprised. They thought like this was a gift from my uncle, but then they didn't know that I didn't tell them, of course, that I had to pay my uncle. And then a few days later, my mom and dad came to know that it wasn't a gift. I had to like pay my uncle back because
Okay.
it was a pretty costly stuff. And I didn't. I initially thought it was like in jest, but it was serious. So then my parents like didn't, and my uncle said like it's okay, like you don't need to pay me back. But then because it's a pretty expensive piece of equipment, they didn't paid him. But and that's when my gaming experience, like I would say, the real one started. So many games with my parents, and so first Mario, and then there was like Bomber, and then all of the stuff that you typically see in that 256 in one game in the cartridge, where you had pretty much all the games that you ever wanted to play. And then we got so many of that, blow it in
Yeah,
the cartridge.
yeah.
It doesn't have the dust in there and whatnot. So we attached it to a machine. My sister loved Tetris. My mom loved the Bejeweled game.
Uh-huh.
My dad did to Bomber, and then like everyone was playing. Like, and it was two-player game, and I loved things like Contra and Shogun and whatnot. So it was. Yeah, so that's I would say, like, my serious memories of playing games was at that time. And I would say I was like one of the more luckier kids at that time, because, not a lot of people owned console in India at that time.
Yeah.
Uh, and, uh, and I would say I was lucky to have been introduced to gaming at such a relatively early age. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious about one thing, Arvind. So, like for instance, like, when I was a kid, most games, if not all the games, came in English, and I was not an English speaker or a native English speaker, and I still remember some games like ones with more text. The ones with more text, like I couldn't necessarily understand what's going on. Did you get um, localized games in India, or you got like the English ones and you had to just figure that out?
Well, in India, pretty much the education for the most part is in English. While
Okay.
I speak Tamil, which is my native language, but
Uh-huh.
the education. So I didn't have any problem with English based games. In fact, I had trouble with Japanese based Japanese text, right? Because there's
Yeah.
so many
But
of.
you speak Japanese or read Japanese?
No, I don't. But who
Okay,
cares, right?
okay. Okay.
So
So if you're a kid in India, you speak English? From what age?
pretty much everyone's. I think I would say English is kind of weaved into everyday language these days. Like even when I speak my native language, I would say
Mhm.
20% of the words that come out is probably like English. Um,
Because of you being in tech, or even people who are not in tech are like
no,
that.
it's weaved into the language because it's everyone. I would say like let me try to give you an example, right? Um, say if someone is coming really fast on the road,
Hmm.
the colloquial way of saying this is like it will be like fasta varambar.
Uh-huh.
So it'll be like fasta varambar translates to he's coming really fast.
Uh-huh.
But fast is an English word, but you add a in front of it or in the back of it, and then it becomes Tamil language. And so many English words that's now like part of the everyday spoken language. Like fast is one thing, and then you say time pass, which is time pass is like you're just chilling. That's what time pass means in India, right?
True.
And yeah, so English is. I think I would say like most people speak English, but not like I would say. Let me correct that. Most people understand English in India.
Hmm.
I don't have a problem with that, and 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 there's also a reason for that, right? Because India has 24 different or official languages. It's like distinctly different languages. So when everyone speaks a different language, you need like one language that everyone doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's it. Uh, in fact, funnily enough, a lot of people in India speak Hindi,
Uh-huh.
but uh, but most of the south of India don't speak in Hindi. They don't understand Hindi. So there was like I'm kind of digressing, but but in the 1960s there was in fact it I would say an act by the government of India to make Hindi the official language so everyone learns Hindi. And then everyone from South India were like, no, 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 we don't want that. We don't want to learn Hindi. So and you like, and the idea was like, if we should all be equally disadvantaged. No one understands English, so we should all learn English. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember, to be honest, and probably people watching these will think of me as a very illiterate person, but yeah, maybe I am. But I remember learning a lot about India from you. One thing, having the concept of how big it is, about how many like different cultures and how many different languages are in the Indian subcontinent. So yeah, this is interesting to know, and the fact that you're saying this about using English as the language to communicate within the region is similar to how it happens between Latin America that speaks Spanish and the Latin America that speaks Portuguese, which is Brazil, and even some countries that speak French. But yeah, we use a different language to communicate because again, it's not a language that we have in common. It's just something that we took up from someone else, and we're using to communicate. So it's interesting.
uh,
And
like I was saying, like cricket was introduced by the English to India, but we beat the crap out of England every time. So pretty proud.
Yeah, I've never seen. The only thing I've seen about cricket is there was this program that I believe was from this TV show from the UK or England or somewhere, called Cybernet. and they had like, it was a video games show, and they had sometimes like sports games and things like that, and they will talk about cricket, and I will say like, oh, that looks like baseball, but that's the only thing I know about cricket. Yeah, you play
I
cricket
guess
yourself?
I do. Yeah, I mean, not professionally, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I play. It's kind of hard to not play cricket in India. Like everyone plays cricket in whatever manner or form that you can think of. Like even in a small gully road,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have people uh, whatever
That's
means to. Yeah, yeah. So
nice, nice.
art.
Perfect. So let's start with your games, Arvind. You have a very interesting list of games. I was surprised that many of them are modern games, which is great because I know all of them. I played four of them, but let's start with the first one, which is a game by Blizzard from 2016, multiplayer first person shooter for a lot of platforms, and it's Overwatch, multiplayer shooter. I'm curious to hear why Overwatch, and I would like to ask you within these lines what you think about the character design on Overwatch. So first, why do you like Overwatch?
So there are multiple reasons why I like Overwatch, and let me list them down. One is having been making MMORPGs for a very long time. I can appreciate the client server architecture. I know it takes a lot of work to do that. That's
Okay.
one. That's like the technical part of me just saying like, yo man, like the architecture on it is so good, right? So
Yeah,
it's like so
and
so
and
little late.
and that's awesome because that's another
Yeah,
part of games that get people excited. People like us, I will say, like thinking about things that you're not necessarily seeing, but things that are behind the scenes. But sorry, yeah.
yeah.
That's one reason.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, I used to play like Team Fortress a lot, but then I kind of didn't play it for a while, and then Overwatch came in, and I really liked that. It's awesome, like from a technical point of view.
Yeah.
Second one is one of my colleagues from Nickelodeon joined Blizzard,
Okay.
and introduced me to Overwatch by just giving me a free coupon, saying, "Play it, man. It's a game I worked on." And so that got me hooked into it, and I wanted to really like that game because I like this guy a lot.
Uh huh.
So I was like, want to like this game. So I already had a bias getting into the game,
Yeah.
and so those are the couple of reasons that got me into the game, and the reason why I continue playing it to till date. Like I think I've clocked like several, I think 500 hours playing Overwatch or more than that, is because. Like I said, like I travel a lot at my job, and I don't have time to play these long games in a console, right?
Hmm.
I play a game where I feel like I played a console game,
Yeah.
but I don't. I need to be in and out in like 20 minutes. I can't spend 2 hours, 3 hours with it, and then multiply that with me having a kid. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I can't play a full. I can't spend 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day playing a console game, and my daughter is screaming, right? So I need, and I like that. So that and that kind of why I like Overwatch, which is it's in and out. It's a console quality game.
Hmm.
It's adrenaline. There's a lot of strategy. And every game is different because it's a multiplayer game, right?
Yeah.
So you go in and out. You play really fast. I love the character design. It reminds me of like the Pixar kind of quality
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so serious, where it's not like Call of Duty where it's like if you die you feel like you really died, but here it's like sure whatever, right?
Yeah.
You die, you come back. It's a lot of fun mechanics, and I also love that the game is constantly balanced, which is great. And there's every once in a while you get new characters, and I'm a support guy myself. I don't like to be like a tank or anything, so I like to be like stay behind,
Uh-huh.
and and that is also given a lot of importance in this game. In Overwatch, support is not just like 3 or 4 characters that just do the same thing. It's not just like health. You're just feeding people with med packs or anything, but it's a lot more than that. So yeah, those are the reasons why I really like Overwatch, and I continue playing it till date.
t- until this day. Yeah, I played a bit of Overwatch. I'm not gonna say that I played as much as you have, but yeah, I love the visuals. I love the character design. I love the cinematics that they create for the game. Yeah, it's visually it's impressive, and on the gameplay side, I also love how the netcode is managed. But well, I don't know how it's managed, but how you don't notice for the most part that it's a multiplayer game because it works so great. The balancing and all those things is it's amazing. So
And
yeah,
it's super simple. It's not a very complicated game either. And I think that's kind of what Blizzard's mantra for success itself is. They take an existing game, they strip it down to its bare minimum, and then they make a fantastic design of that. And that's what Overwatch has done. So I really like it. Yeah.
awesome, awesome. So let's go to your next game, Vint, which is a game, a pretty recent game. So it's also great to hear that a pretty recent game it's on your list of favorite games, and it's a game that I have on my wish list. Or at first, this is funny. When I saw it, I think it was a trailer. I'm not sure if at this year's E3 or somewhere. I thought like, is this for the first couple of seconds? This feels something similar to my culture, but then as it progresses, then you see, oh, this is not necessarily. But at first, I felt like at home. It's a game from a studio that I didn't know, and the publisher I also didn't know. An action adventure game, and it's called Raji, an ancient epic. I'm not sure if how is it pronounced Raji.
Yeah, it's Raji, like with the elongated R. It's Raji. Yeah, I love that game, man. Like, in fact, I love the game, and I also love the story of the developers' journey to make this game. So the reason why I love this game is, one, there has been like so many games that has come out of India based on mythology, and usually I'm not a big fan of of mythological games that reuse the same stories over and over again. Like, there's
Okay.
two big epics in India, which is Ramayana and Mahabharata, and the same stories from this are like have used a million times in various forms of entertainment, be it television, games, or movies and whatnot. And Raji essentially took the culture of Indianness, I would say, the Indian mythology,
Mm-hmm.
and made it their own. Like, they created a game that is distinctly Indian, but it is not, and it is merely inspired by mythology, but it's not just a story retelling of something that happened in a mythological story, right?
Okay.
Absolutely. As soon, in fact, even before I played the game and I kind of saw the synopsis of what exactly this game is all about, I instantly loved it. I'm like, oh, finally, there's someone who understands this, right? Not like the other people didn't do it, but I felt that, okay, this has very interesting visuals. It seems to be heading in the right direction. And as I saw the progress that the studios are making, and they had like a Kickstarter campaign which failed, but they didn't give up. In fact, one of the founders had to sell their house to make this game
Okay.
because they're really passionate about finishing this game. And the more I followed them like all over the place, like on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, or on in all game conferences where I was just playing their game, and I kept watching seeing their progress, and it is a fantastic game. It's not a big game. It's like you can finish the game in maybe 4 or 5 hours,
Okay.
but the visuals and the love that the developers have put in to make the game international quality, top notch game is just great. And it's coming from out of India, right? And I'm obviously biased with India.
Yeah.
Having, and there's so many games that come out of India, but I don't think I've seen a game of this quality that has been produced by an Indian studio for a very long time. Or I've never seen a game that came out of India of this quality forever, actually.
Yeah.
So the game plays really well. I love the mechanics. I love the story. I love the visuals. If you have seen even like clips of the game just looks so good. The story has a nice ending to it, and I also like that it's usually like you have princess or prince saving the princess in most games where you have the
Yeah.
a male saving the female character all the time. But this one has a female lead which saves her, and she goes on a quest to save her brother. And I like that too. I have a daughter, so I'm like always looking out for games that empower women and whatnot. So I'm like, yeah, this is great. Like this puts in a very strong female protagonist, and I love it. And this I would highly recommend anyone to play this game if you haven't already played it. It's on Switch, it's on Steam, it's all over the place. So definitely
Yeah.
check it out.
Yeah, no, no, definitely. I have it on my Switch wish list. I'm definitely gonna check it out. And that thing that you mentioned about having a female protagonist and also a female protagonist that can be a role model for girls from India, right? Like that's also important because I feel that yeah, we can have like a male protagonist, but in some cases that person doesn't look like me. Then it's it's you get used to, but at some point you say like, oh, I would like to see someone like me there, and the same thing happens for people that is not represented in media and things
And
like
then
that. So,
going back to the previous game, in fact, that's also another reason why I like Overwatch, because it's got representation. Like it's got everyone. I have people who look like me in the game, so it's awesome.
yeah, yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
Also, and not to give any promotion, but it's made with Unreal, right? With
yeah,
Unreal Engine 4.
yeah. Yes, that's right. Epic. In fact, I think they funded like mega grant was provided for Raji,
Okay, cool.
and yeah, it's made with Unreal. Yeah,
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is another game that I played and enjoyed a lot. It looks, I think it's a game from 2009, so 11 years ago, but I still feel like it's one of the most impressive, visually impressive games I remember. By Eidos and Warner Bros. Developed by Rocksteady. Batman: Arkham Asylum. Are you a Batman fan? First of all.
I,
Okay, cool, cool. Yes, you are.
I have like if you look at my collection of books, also most of them are just Batman books. And I have like a Batmobile over here. I
Okay,
have
okay.
Batman. So I have everything Batman. I'm a huge Batman fan, and I get to play as Batman. I'm like, come on, like it's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Game the game was done so well. So a lot of times, like when you have a superhero kind of a game or even a movie, they usually start with the origin. They say like, here is how you become a superhero,
Mhm.
and that's boring. Like I know the superhero. Like I don't want to become the superhero. I know the and that's what I really liked about Arkham Asylum. It's like, come on, you're Batman. Just be Batman. You don't need to like train yourself, and you don't need to go to Japan and learn how to do martial arts and then learn control. None
Yeah.
of that. Batman just go kick butt, right? And I also like that it's not just fighting. Like Batman is the world's greatest detective, right?
Mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
a lot of detective work that you got to do. It's not just punching people, but you got to like find Riddler's clues. You got to use your bat vision. I think that's what it's called. If I'm incorrect in the term, forgive me. But that's so you have all of that the supersonic bat vision. And you see what's going on, and you create you kind of figure out things while you're going through the game. While also like the fighting mechanics is awesome. Like it's just so good. So I just love the game, and one from an artistic point of view, I also love that the cape of Batman was just so good. Like it was just like this is how Batman's cape behaves, and the cape is in front of you all the time, right? So
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
that it needs to be uh, well done. And every time I just like, this is how Batman's cape is. Yes, this is awesome. Yeah, I love this game, and you get to meet all of the Batman villains, and the story is just excellent. I think it's probably one of the best Batman storylines in a game, or I would say forever, in all mediums. So I absolutely love the game. Yeah.
So, well, one thing you mentioned, I will assume that the cape was driven by some sort of physics or something like that, right? I don't think it was made with a keyframed animation or anything, because
No.
yeah, yeah,
So
it's a
even the fight, even when Batman is fighting, I don't think I ever saw the cape like
yeah,
like
trespassing
going.
through, yeah, yeah,
don't you don't see Batman's body.
yeah,
It's
clearly,
always top of Batman, and it moves so well. Like when I'm fighting, if you've seen the Batman mechanics, the fighting mechanics is just so good, right?
yeah.
And it's the cape has a life on its own. Like it follows Batman in a way that you expect the cape to follow Batman.
And one question, Arvind, now that we're getting into these details, when you play games, do you still enjoy them as just like a video game, or do you now just go and say and try to inspect and try to decompose the games as software, or you can just forget about the fact that they are software and just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to play.
No, I can never do that. I think it's kind of ingrained in my head that it's like a director watching a movie, right? Like
Yeah.
regardless of how good the movie is, the director is always gonna deconstruct how the movie was made, and that's kind of how I am. Every time I look at a game, my first instinct is to always figure like, how did they make this game, right? And I think that goes like way deep. Like in fact, when I first mentioned that I like animation, but I really want to know what's going on under the hood. I think that's what happens to me when I look at anything. When I look at a game, or when I look at a movie, or when I'm watching a movie, or I'm doing anything, I'm just always like, how did this come into being? Like what exactly went behind the making of this piece of art, or piece of, uh, of, of a video game? So yeah, I always look at the mechanics. It just kind of subconsciously happens. Like, I just cannot help it. And that
And I
I come.
assume that you also do this when you're watching the movies, because also once one of the things that you were doing lately was focusing on the use of real-time technology for animation, right? So I also remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe it was I dreamt about this, but you had the idea of replicate this scene from Coco, when they have these I think it's called in English Mary flowers, around the screen. And I thought like, oh man, you should definitely do it. You still have to do that someday in Unreal or Unity.
Yeah, I think it was a couple of years ago when I wanted to do that. I saw Coco, and I was just like blown away by the visuals and the story, and I just loved everything about Coco. And again, while I was watching the Coco movie, I was like, can this be done in Unity? And why cannot it be done in Unity? And then I went down that rabbit hole, and then realized, like, I'm an artist, but I don't have an eye for lighting. That kind of sucks. Like, I'm really trying to get better at it
Mhm.
every day, trying to figure out how lighting works. But lighting played an important role in Coco, right? Like, it looks beautiful because of lighting. And I started doing some tests, and then I realized, like, shit, this looks like crap. Like, it's mostly because my lighting skills are so bad. And yeah, it's yet to be realized. But I now that you have reminded me of it, maybe I should pursue it, and see how I can do it in a real time engine,
Yeah.
be it Unity or something. Yeah, but I think it should be done. I don't think it cannot be done. In fact, especially in the day and age of RTX cards and whatnot, so I think you should be able to do it, pull it off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You can say that you couldn't do it 2 years ago because the technology was not ready, but today is ready. So, uh,
Just blame it on technology, but also I wasn't technical to pull it off
true.
that time. I just didn't. I could place all the objects together, and apply textures and shaders and lighting, but just looked like crap. Like, what's wrong here? Some right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to your next game, and this is the first game in your list that is a mobile game. I'm curious also if you play a lot of mobile games lately, or while you were traveling, if you will play like more on like a handheld console or more on your mobile phone. But this is Clash Royale, game for iOS and Android by Supercell from 2016. So tell me about this game in particular, which I also think that the design itself it's beautiful.
It's only been 2016. I thought it was earlier than that. But anyway, yeah, I started playing that game while I was at Disney. Like, I think it became a viral phenomenon in my office. Like, everyone was playing it, and I was just like forced to go and download it because everyone was playing it.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of like Clash of Clans.
Mhm.
I can build your base and whatnot because I just don't have the patience for it. So I was when Clash Royale came out, I think I also liked it because of the same reason I like Overwatch, which is you go in and out really fast. You go in the game 3 minutes, 5 minutes tops, you're done with the game, right? And it's a and I'm a big sucker for tower defense. I love tower defense games.
Okay.
I think I've played like I wouldn't be exaggerating if I told you I've played 50 tower defense games on even there's just the flash games, right? Like you see on like active games or whatever like that. I just love it, and this essentially took the same mechanic of tower defense but made it multiplayer. It's like you're defending your tower at the same time you're attacking. It's multiplayer. The game is, I wouldn't say it's like really well balanced or anything, but I love the art style. Like it's so simple, and the mechanics is so easy to just pick up. I think the adage of easy to pick up, hard to master. I think that's kind of what it is. And what I really like about the game itself is I've been playing it for 2016, right? So for 4.5 years, and I never got bored. In fact, I had to once delete that game because I thought I was just addicted to it. Because as soon as I took my phone, that's the only thing I was playing, right? And the idea for the game designers to think of user retention like 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, that's incredible. Like who thinks about it that way and also pull it off. So even if you're a brand new player today, you still have a great experience. And if you're playing it for 4 years, you still have a great experience, right? So I think that's a very commendable part of mobile gaming, thinking about user retention, and most of all, they make a ton of money without ads. I love that too. Yeah.
Okay, but I then I assume you have spent money in the game.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, more money than you are proud to admit then.
Cannot tell it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So back to the question, and we're about to wrap up. You play a lot of mobile games lately, or you're more like a console game, or you play whatever you want?
Well, I prefer playing on my PC,
Okay.
but I also play like I'm not a big mobile gaming kind of a person unless it's like Clash Royale, right? I did play Side. I love that game. It was on mobile. I like that game. But most of the like the hyper casual games, I just cannot. I don't have the taste for it anymore. It's just like I don't care for this. It just feels like someone is just making a game to make a little bit of money out of it.
Okay.
And mechanics, like you see so many ads, and that's fine. I mean that's I mean at the end of the day, game development is still a business. I get it. I don't condone those kinds of games, but I just don't have the taste for it anymore. I just cannot play casual games or hyper casual games anymore.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And to wrap up, this is the last game. One game that I love, but I hate because of how difficult it is. I've never finished one of these. I'm not proud, but I don't think I'll ever be able to finish one. Which is Contra from 1987, shoot 'em up. Why Contra? Which in my head it's different from the other games that you chose. So tell me about Contra.
So the reason why I love Contra is because of the memories associated with it.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, One, it's a multiplayer game, like it's a two-player game, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I've played so many games with my cousins, like two consoles. You have like these two shooter guys, and you got to keep in sync. Like if you go fast, too much in front, the other guy dies. So you're
Yeah.
gonna like he's gonna literally be because he's just right next to you. So you don't go too fast, you don't go too slow. You have a variety of weapons that you can choose from, and it's just got great memories around it. And it's a complex game. Unlike today, where you have a choice of millions, if not billions, of games, and if you don't like it, if you lose it, you just kind of throw and you just go to the next game, right? Whereas at that time, uh, you just had that one game. Like they had like one cartridge, it had Contra on it, and you just got to finish it. If
Yeah.
you're bored with it, well, play it again, right? If you
Yeah.
play it and figure it out, and I love that about that game. Like it's uh, it's so simple. Like it's just a side scroller game, and you pick up a variety of weapons, and there is no I would say the complexity of carrying food or carrying bullets or carrying different kinds of guns where you have to choose what you do. No, nothing exists. If you accidentally picked up a laser gun, which I hate, well, live with it, right? That's it. Like you just cannot do anything about it. Just got to go keep
Yeah.
punching
Yeah.
that. If you get the S gun, I think it's called spread gun. That's what we used to call it. But if you got the spread gun, just
Uh-huh.
hold it down, shooting. You never run out of bullets, and you just keep shooting. So it's so simple, and there's so many good memories I have around it. And that's kind of why I like it. And I think there's a dearth of these kind of a single screen two-player games these days. You kind of see it with you kind of like see this split screen that's going on with the Mario what do you call it, the racer game
Uh,
on Switch, uh,
Mario Kart.
Mario Kart. I kind of like that, but I don't think there's any games these days, at least, which have like a single two-player in the same screen. I think Cuphead did that, and I
Mm-hmm.
like that also. But I think I just like Contra for that. It's great to have like some kind of gaming experience where you're playing with someone sitting right next to you, and I think that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. One question: did you play the SNK Contra Metal Slug? Did you play that
No, I
series?
played the original one, and I never played any other versions of Contra.
Okay.
It's just one. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it's I love the fact of how we sometimes have these love for games, not because of the game itself, but because of the memory, such as this one that you were mentioning. So yeah, it's amazing. And I know we're going over time, Marvin. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for sharing these experiences, sharing like about yourself, about your professional life and also your personal life. I would like to ask you if there's anything that you would like to share, like where can people follow you, where can people contact you, if you're working on any projects that you want to share. Also, I would like to.
Sure. Well, you can follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn. Twitter, I probably prefer. You can probably. I don't know if you can put that in the in
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
in
I'll
your.
put it there.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's Arvind Sabha Neel. That's my Twitter handle, and I'm also on LinkedIn on my same name, Arvind Neelakantan. Yeah, there's I'm mostly focusing on film and animation these days, using real-time engines, Unreal specifically.
Mhm.
Primarily because India is huge with on movies. You have like Bollywood and a half a dozen regional film industries in India. And I think there's an uptake of real time engines that can be used in these in the film industry, and that's kind of most of what I'm focusing on these days. Of course, and there's also a huge movie industry in like Indonesia and Philippines and whatnot, and I'm also looking at that. I don't have any projects I want to show, but that's kind of what I'm working on. I would just like to just say, like, the like I said, my original passion was animation and film, and I'm kind of glad that an advisor of mine in when I was studying in Drexel University suggested that I kind of pick up interactivity in games because I just couldn't stand the render time in animation. And I'm kind of glad that today the two worlds have merged. Both my passion for animation and storytelling is merging with what I'm good at, which is making games, right? So, and I'm just kind of like feeling pretty cool that both those worlds are colliding with each other. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I'm gonna put your details on the description. But again, Arvind, thank you so much. It's great chatting with you. It's great to see that you are doing all these amazing things. And yeah, I really thank you. And I hope you enjoy your day.
Thanks, Arturo. It was fantastic talking to you after so long. I think we should also talk outside of doing these kind of chats.
Yeah, anytime. I enjoy chatting with you and learning, and it's always great. But thank
Yeah.
you so much, Arvind.
All right, man. See ya. Bye.
Bye.